Ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of to-dos? Me too. It's like every time you think you've got a handle on things, another wave crashes over you. The laundry pile grows taller, the to-do list gets longer, and the demands just keep coming. It's enough to make anyone feel overwhelmed. Just yesterday, the washing machine ate my favorite sock, and I spent half an hour trying to fish it out. It's like the machine has a mind of its own, conspiring against me. And of course, it had to be my favorite sock, the one that perfectly matches my favorite pair of shoes. Then, the grocery store was out of chocolate chips, tragedy, which meant no cookies for the kids' bake sale. I mean, how does a store run out of chocolate chips? It's like the universe is playing a cruel joke on me. And to top it all off, my toddler decided to give himself a haircut. I walked into the room to find him holding a pair of scissors, grinning from ear to ear with chunks of hair missing. It was one of those moments where you just have to laugh to keep from crying. It was one of those days where even the dog looked at me with pity. Sound familiar? It's like the whole world is conspiring to test your patience and sanity. You start to wonder if you're the only one who feels this way. Life can feel like a never-ending obstacle course, right? Every day brings new challenges, new hurdles to jump over. It's a constant race against time, trying to keep up with everything and everyone. We're juggling work, family, and a million little things, all while trying to maintain some semblance of sanity. Keyword, trying. It's a delicate balancing act, and sometimes it feels like we're one step away from dropping everything. But what if I told you there's a secret weapon for these crazy days? Something that can help you find peace in the midst of the chaos. It's not a magic solution, but it's something that has made a world of difference for me. A source of peace that runs deeper than a hot bath and a glass of wine, though those are good too. It's something that can ground you, give you strength, and remind you that you're not alone in this. It's found in a passage of scripture that's become my lifeline, Psalm 27. This psalm has been a source of comfort and strength for me, a reminder that no matter how tough things get, there's always hope. This isn't just some dusty old poem, it's a powerful declaration of faith and trust in God. It's a reminder that we don't have to face our struggles alone. It's a battle cry for the weary, a call to stand firm and trust that God is with us, even in the midst of our hardest days. It's a song of hope for the overwhelmed, a reminder that there is light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how dark things may seem, there's always a reason to hope. It's David's way of saying, hey, life gets tough, but God is tougher, and He's got your back. So the next time you feel like you're drowning in a sea of to-dos, remember that you're not alone. There's a source of strength and peace that's always available to you, no matter what. King David, the guy who wrote this psalm, knew a thing or two about stress. He dodged spears, outran enemies, and dealt with more drama than a reality TV show. Yet in the midst of chaos, he found a rock-solid truth. God is his light and his salvation. That's right. Even when everything's hitting the fan, God is our constant. He's the calm in our storm, the light at the end of the tunnel, the chocolate chips to our cookie dough. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the idea. Psalm 27 isn't just some nice-sounding poetry, it's a declaration of trust in a God who never leaves us hanging. It reminds us that no matter how crazy life gets, we're never alone. And that, my friend, is a game changer. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 27:1. These words are like a warm blanket on a chilly night. They remind us that we have a safe place to run to, a fortress for our souls, in the midst of life's storms. Think about it. Your child throws a tantrum in the middle of the grocery store, your boss dumps a mountain of work on your desk, your car decides to take an unplanned detour to the mechanic. In those moments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, lost, even afraid. But remember, you have a stronghold. You have a God who whispers, I am here, I am with you, don't be afraid. Fear is a sneaky little devil. It whispers doubts, magnifies problems, and steals our joy. But faith is a warrior. It stands tall, faces down those fears, and reminds us who's really in control. Psalm 27:3 says, though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. Now you might not be facing a literal army, but I bet you face battles every day. Maybe it's the fear of failure, the anxiety of a difficult conversation, or the worry that whispers, you're not enough. But here's the good news. When those fears come knocking, and they will, faith can answer the door. Remember whose you are. Remember who goes before you. Remember that you are loved, you are cherished, and you are never alone. Section 5. The one thing necessary. In the middle of this powerful psalm, David pauses and asks a simple question. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. Psalm 27 verse 4. This verse captures the essence of a deep longing, a yearning that transcends the mundane aspects of our daily lives. It speaks to the soul's desire for a connection that is both profound and eternal. What is this one thing that's more important than riches, power, or even a good hair day? It's a question that invites us to reflect on our priorities, to consider what truly matters in the grand scheme of things. It's the desire to be close to God, to feel his presence enveloping us like a warm embrace. This desire is not just a fleeting wish, but a deep-seated need that resides in the core of our being, to experience his presence in the everyday moments of life. Whether we are walking through a serene park or sitting quietly on a bench, these moments become sacred when we are aware of his presence. You see, it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, the noise and chaos of our daily routines. The world around us is constantly demanding our attention, pulling us in 1,000 different directions. The to-do lists and the endless demands, the never-ending stream of tasks that seem to multiply by the minute. It's in these moments of overwhelming busyness that we often lose sight of what truly matters, that we forget to simply be with him. We forget to pause, to take a moment to breathe and reconnect with the divine. It's in these quiet moments of reflection that we find our true selves, to sit at his feet, to be still, and know that he is God. In these moments of stillness we find a peace that surpasses all understanding, to pour out our hearts, to share our deepest fears and hopes, our joys and sorrows. It's in this act of vulnerability that we find strength and comfort, to listen for his voice. In the silence we hear the whispers of his love, the gentle guidance that leads us through the complexities of life. But that, my friend, is where the real magic happens. It's in these moments of connection that we find our true purpose, our true calling. It's in these moments that we realize that the one thing necessary is not something we can achieve or acquire, but something we can only experience and cherish. Section 6. Seeking his face, not my phone. In a world of constant distractions, finding time with God can feel like trying to find a matching sock in the dryer. We're bombarded with notifications, emails, and the endless scroll of social media. But here's the thing. God doesn't need us to have it all together. He doesn't expect perfectly curated prayers or Instagram-worthy quiet times. He just wants our hearts. So put down the phone, close the laptop, and turn your attention to him, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Breathe, listen, be present in his presence. You might be surprised by what you find. Section 7. Bold prayers for brazen requests. Here's a secret. God can handle your big, messy, audacious prayers. He's not intimidated by our doubts, our fears, or our laundry lists of requests. In fact, he encourages us to come boldly before his throne of grace. Psalm 27 verse 8 says, "My heart says of you, seek his face." Your face, Lord, I will seek. Notice the urgency, the passion in those words. David isn't afraid to pour out his heart to God, to ask for what he needs, to seek his guidance and direction. And neither should we be. So go ahead, be bold in your prayers. Ask for the impossible. Believe for the miraculous. Our God is a God who hears, a God who answers, a God who moves mountains on behalf of his children. Section 8. From whining to praising. Let's be honest, sometimes our prayers sound more like a complaint department than a conversation with the King of Kings. We bring our laundry list of grievances, our endless requests, and our frustrations to God, hoping for immediate solutions. We get bogged down in the details, the frustrations, the why me moments. It's easy to let our circumstances dictate our attitude and our prayers. We focus on the negatives, the things that aren't going our way, and we forget to see the bigger picture. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if we took a step back and looked at our lives through a different lens? Instead of zeroing in on what's wrong, we could start to see what's right. We could begin to notice the blessings, the small victories, and the moments of grace that often go unnoticed. What if, instead of focusing on what's wrong, we focused on what's right? What if we made a conscious effort to count our blessings, to acknowledge the good things in our lives, no matter how small they may seem? This shift in focus can transform our outlook and our prayers. What if, instead of grumbling, we praised? What if we turned our complaints into gratitude and our frustrations into worship? This doesn't mean ignoring our problems or pretending they don't exist. It means choosing to see God's hand at work, even in the midst of our struggles. Psalm 27 verse 6 says, "Then my head will be exalted above my enemies who surround me. At his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord." This verse reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we can choose to praise. Even in the midst of his trials, David chose to praise. He didn't ignore his problems or pretend they weren't there. Instead, he acknowledged them, and then chose to focus on God's goodness and faithfulness. He chose to focus on God's goodness, his faithfulness, his unwavering love. This choice didn't necessarily change his circumstances, but it changed his heart. It gave him strength, hope, and a renewed sense of purpose. And you know what? That changes things. It shifts our perspective, lifts our spirits, and reminds us that even when life is hard, God is good. It helps us to see beyond our immediate struggles and to trust in God's greater plan for our lives. So let's make a conscious effort to shift from whining to praising. Let's choose to see the good, to count our blessings, and to lift our voices in gratitude and worship. Because when we do, we not only honor God, but we also transform our own hearts and lives. Section 9. Courage, dear heart, He is with you. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed by the chaos of life, remember Psalm 27. Remember that you have a God who sees you, who hears you, who loves you fiercely and unconditionally. Remember that you are never alone in the battle. Take courage, dear heart, He is with you, and that makes all the difference.